24 Illinois high school teachers recently gathered for a civics education workshop at Southern Illinois University Carbondale to learn more about implementing House Bill 4025. The legislation requires future Illinois high school students to complete a standalone semester-long civics course about government institutions, current and controversial issues discussions, service learning, and simulations of democratic processes. The Robert R. McCormick Foundation partnered with the Paul Simon Public Policy Institute for the workshop entitled Civic Standards and News Literacy, providing pathways for student engagement.
If you have question 2, you're up in this corner. So my name is Mary Ellen Daniels, and I'm the lead teacher mentor for the McCormick Foundation. I am also a 27-year classroom teacher at Community High School in West Chicago, Illinois. And through the McCormick Foundation, what I do is I develop and implement professional development surrounding the new civics law that's required at the high school level, and also to help teachers implement with fidelity the new social studies standards based on the C3 framework. I really think the new civics law is really key to the future of our democracy. To paraphrase the words of Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, that civic dispositions and knowledge and skills aren't passed down through the gene pool. Kids are not born with it. So if we would like them to be effective civic engagers in our communities, we need to teach it, and we need to give them space to practice those habits and those skills in a safe environment. I think it's so important to have these new standards and this new civic law, because these new policies in the state of Illinois aren't just about what we teach in our social studies classes, but how we teach it and how we have kids become informed citizens in our democratic republic, and also empower them to take informed action as members of our community.
I'm very excited about the direction that civic education is going in our state. I feel like when I was a student, civics was something that we were just taught about government and about the system and how it worked. We're now, with the new law and the changes that we're implementing, the focus of civic education now is more on student voice and student action, and teaching the students that they do have a voice and that they do have the tools to make a difference or make a change in their own lives and their own communities.
I think it's made me think more about my own classroom activities and the things and goals I want to get out for my students. Starting to look at and say, okay, how do we move from just more the traditional teacher-student activity involvement to something where the kids can get a little more hands-on, try to figure out what their role is, as opposed to me trying to figure it out for them.
I think it's really important for teachers to have meaningful professional development in order to meet the new civics law and to meet these new social studies standards, because again, we can't do this in a silo. We need to be talking the same language. We need to have the same expectations. And also, it's so important just to collaborate as professionals.
Collaboration has been phenomenal with preparing for these workshops. We sit down, we put together unit plans based upon the new civic learning standards, and we meet teachers that are not only in our area but throughout the entire state, and we really just get to bounce ideas off of each other and take it back home.
The McCormick Foundation, for which I work, made a commitment that this would not be an unfunded mandate, but that there would be 3 years of free professional development for teachers throughout the state of Illinois, so that teachers throughout the state can have access to the same resources to bridge that civic education gap in the state of Illinois.
I have loved getting to hear the new and fresh ideas that the other teachers have had and that our presenters have had, because anytime that we can take what someone else is doing successfully, slightly tweak it, and use it in a way that'll be effective for our students, it's a win.
I personally like just to be able to interact. So often in teaching, you're kind of trapped in your room. You don't get to get out and visit people outside your building and meet new people, come up with different ideas, and I think that is very beneficial for teachers, because we do get so kind of wrapped up in our own rooms so often that anytime we can get out, meet new people, come up with different lessons, ways of thinking, ways of approaching a lesson, that's very beneficial.
This workshop is the latest in a series that began in 2010 and has benefited hundreds of teachers and administrators and thousands of students throughout Southern Illinois for the past 7 years.
One of the most important partners of the McCormick Foundation in this initiative has been the Paul Simon Institute. The Paul Simon Institute really has its finger on the pulse of the state of Illinois through its polling and the information it produces for Illinois residents, again, to get sort of an idea and gauge where Illinois is on some of the most pressing issues that face our communities. And so it's been just a pleasure and a privilege to work with the Paul Simon Institute, not only to gather information and data, but also to have access to some of its wonderful professors like Professor John Jackson that we just heard from in our training, so that teachers can have access to meaningful information and data that they can use as evidence in their classroom and share with students to empower them to make informed choices. You know, actions need to be informed. And really the research and the materials provided by the Paul Simon Institute give that information that our kids need to take that informed action.
To learn more about the civics education workshops conducted by the Robert R. McCormick Foundation, visit illinoiscivics.org.